Ma'am, the next question that I have actually comes from a very interesting chart which was put forth by a VC firm called Bloom Ventures. And they bifurcated the income tax payers in India. And this chart says that out of the 1.4 billion people, 74 million people filed for taxes and only 22 million people were actual taxpayers. So only 1.5% of India's population is the tax-paying population, whereas for China this is 10% and in the US it is 43%. Ma'am, why is our tax base so small?
Yes, it is small, and the attempt is to make it wider. But taxation is such a matter that you really can't impose. You'll have to find
Yeah,
out where that revenue lies so that you gradually bring them on board to say you should also be paying the tax. And therefore, in India particularly, it takes a very interesting dimension in that as long as you are earning more, you and your family are happy.
yeah,
But the moment you are under the tax net, you think the government is regressive.
correct.
There is a moral issue here, and therefore it will have to take its time
How
to
do we solve
expand.
this problem, ma'am?
Nudge the people is the only solution. You have to bring in civic consciousness. But above all, I think there's also an argument which the taxpayer has in his mind. And I think I would respect that. And that thought is, look, what do we get for the tax that we pay?
Exactly.
This has been a question, I think, now for 50 years.
Correct.
Because the taxpayer thinks, my road doesn't improve. I don't get proper drinking water in my house.
Yeah,
Three-phase electricity also was something very aspirational.
yeah,
And then going to a proper hospital was a big thing. Private sector probably showed the way, saying better quality medical attention is available, but government hospitals were not really up to it. So you thought even if you were paying only 100 rupees towards tax, you thought my 100 rupees is important for me. And truly, it
yeah.
is important for everybody. But in that 100 rupees, I don't seem to get anything better.
No value for money.
So that anxiety still holds. Although Prime Minister Modi, I would generously credit him for one thing. Every rupee of the taxpayers' money, he is clear that he has to safeguard. He is clear that that cannot be frittered away. He is also clear that, like the way, once upon a time, Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi said, if I send 1 rupee to the beneficiary, he ends up getting only 15 paisa.
Correct.
The rest are all gone away. So, by adopting technology, Prime Ministers ensure that that kind of leakage doesn't happen. 1 rupee sent is 1 rupee received.
So you're saying that once you start providing value for money to the people of India, they will understand the importance of paying taxes, or they'll at least value the fact that the government
That's
is giving
right.
them something in return for the tax that they're paying.
That's right.
Ma'am, this stat itself has another underlying insight. It says that out of the 22 million people who pay taxes also, only 4.5 million, as in just 0.3% of our population pays 80% of our taxes. Ma'am, this indicates a very big gap between the rich and the poor. And I looked at the consumption levels, and even there I found some stats which were quite surprising. It says that the top 1% of India accounted for 45% of all flights. 1% of Indians took home 22% of India's income, and just 6.5% of the users were responsible for 44% of all UPI transactions. Ma'am, why is the gap between the rich and the poor increasing so much?
See, I wouldn't want to play it up as the gap increasing so much or whatever. I think there is a clear disconnect between the qualifications that you acquire, the education levels that we reach, and the kind of jobs that are available. And also, equally, jobs and the skill sets that they require don't seem to matter in the higher education centers.
Correct.
So, I've heard big companies tell me that a properly qualified engineer is recruited, but almost 6 months goes away in making him job fit.
Correct.
It's an investment for the company. And why should they have to do it? So, the qualifications with which people ready themselves to face a job are still not really up to the industry's requirement. And many companies, particularly the medium and small ones, can't even afford to, invest in training them, because after 6 months of training, God knows where he'll go.
Correct.
So the considerations for industry are all now becoming so difficult that youth who think that they come out of universities are ready for jobs are unable to digest the fact that probably they are just not ready for jobs yet. But so, is this a government observation, and is this something which I'm going to leave it as it is? It's for them to face? No. We are trying to bridge this gap. We are trying to work with industry groups to say, why don't you tell us what is the kind of requirement you have? And in the curriculum that is being imparted, would you want to join hands, at least in the last 1 year, at least in the last 2 years of an engineering course, and say, look, give him such skills which are required for a forging company, metal forging company, or if it's an automobile shop floor, what would you want him to do? I know there are institutions like the Power Tools Corporation or Power Tools Institute or something, Government of India run,
Okay.
which trains mechanical engineers, which trains people how to go about using instruments and be of relevance in the shop floor. But many more such are required, not for just the engineering. Now, the PM Vishwakarma Yojana that we've come up with
Okay.
is the one which says for people who are working with some bare minimum tools, in other words, working essentially with their hands, but probably using a minimum set of tools, they shall be proper training given. They will be given a kind of a stipend during the course, post which a 15,000 rupees worth of kit will be provided to them.
Okay.
And with that certification, today they can qualify for many of these big ticket jobs or assignments or contracts or subcontracts and so on. So, yeah, these are serious problems of people with inadequate skill sets aspiring for jobs.
Hi guys, thank you so much for watching the Indian Business Podcast. If you find value in our work, please hit that subscribe button, because for you it might be a zero effort task, but for us that subscriber count is an important instrument to get great guests to our podcast and to make this podcast better for you. So if you find value, please subscribe.